when San Diego had the idea of putting on the exposition, they wanted to make it an international exposition, but San Francisco was competing with us for the 1915 Expo. They were both celebrating the opening of the Panama Canal. So San Francisco was a city that was 10 times larger than San Diego at the time. And so they ended up being awarded the official exposition. But San Diego, instead of folding the tent and saying, forget it, we won't do one, said, well, we're gonna go and do it anyway. And so San Diego ended up putting on their expo. But a lot of the states and even countries that were going to build buildings and put exhibits in Balboa Park moved up to San Francisco and did it there instead. So we ended up with only 7 state buildings here. So behind me over here is where the Science and Education building used to be, right here on the Plaza de Panama. And it was quite a large building. It wrapped around with arcades. It had a really nice entrance on this side. It also had an entrance on the Prado side. And it was demolished in the 1960s. And it was replaced by this building, which serves as the auditorium for the Museum of Art and the Sculpture Garden. And they have a little cafe there as well. But as you can see, by the use of columns rather than arches, the lack of decoration, the fact that it's very horizontal and streamlined, it's really much a modern building. And so a lot of people, myself included, feel it's not really a good blend with the architecture of the park from 1915. And some people are even hoping that the Science Education building could be reconstructed and replace this building, basically reverse what was done in the 60s. And the good news about that possibility is not only are there a lot of great photos of the original building, but the original drawings are down at the downtown library. So, which I've had a chance to see. And they're beautiful drawings. They show the whole set, and they could easily reconstruct it, make it look just like it did in 1915. So now we're in front of what is now the Timken Museum, but this used to be the place for the Home Economy Building, which was another 1915 Expo building. This was the second building that was demolished in the 60s for an art museum. And the Home Economy Building was kind of a sister building to the House of Hospitality, which has survived and been reconstructed to be permanent. But they both had towers that kind of flanked the Prado. They had really ornate facades. They were both unique, though. They were different. Unfortunately, the style of the time, so they decided to build a very modernist building in its place. I really like this building as an architect. It's a very well-done modern building. It's got a lot of nice decoration, use of stone and wrought iron. But it's the right building in the wrong place. So this is a reproduction of a map from 1915 which shows the entire exposition grounds. Here's the Cabrillo Bridge. We were just in the Plaza de Panama. You see there's the Science Education building, the Home Economy building that are gone. But we just walked down here and we walked next to the Organ Pavilion. And now we're in this little area here, which was the State Buildings Plaza, they called it. And so we had Kansas, we had Utah, we had Washington, New Mexico, and Montana. Those are the only 5 states that were in this area. The only survivors are the Kansas State Building, which is now the House of Italy, and the Hall of Nations building. And then we have the New Mexico building, which is right over here, which is now the Balboa Park Club. And so that's where they have a lot of events, and they expanded it in 1935. But all the international cottages here were added 20 years after this exposition, and they aren't indicated on the map. So they actually tore down some of these buildings. So the Utah State Building and the Montana State Building probably came down right around 1916, 1917, so very early on. So this is only one of 2 of the temporary state buildings that survived. One was New Mexico, and this is the Kansas State Building. And it's pretty unrecognizable today because they modified it over the years, probably due to disrepair, and they didn't have the money to bring it back to its original look. So they chopped off the upper half of the tower, which used to have a kind of a dome and a little railing area, modeled after the Mission San Luis Rey in Oceanside. And they also filled in a lot of the arches, especially on the right side here, because they created a House of Italy when they expanded international cottages. So it's not really recognizable anymore, especially with the name Kansas also removed from it. But it's being currently repaired, but they do use it as a meeting hall, Hall of Nations. It's kind of where the international cottages have their meetings. And it's still one of the last surviving temporary buildings from 1915.